This town's Yelp reviews get 0 stars. Welcome to NSD, your safe space for chaotic lore, messy stories, and horror comics that'll make your hometown feel like a Silent Hill game. So let's get into it. Our next patient, Freddie, starts by telling Melvina about a recurring nightmare he's had for years. Every night, he dreams of his younger self standing outside an old mine. He hears a woman laughing somewhere inside, but the closer he gets, the more he realizes she's not laughing at all. She's screaming. Freddie explains that he ran away from home years ago after something terrible happened, but he can't remember what it was. The dream always cuts him off before he reaches the memory. Melvina quietly takes notes while he talks. She says if he wants answers, he needs to return home and close the circle. So Melvina's therapy strategy is go back to the place that traumatized you. Right. The trip takes hours, and the closer Freddie gets to town, the more uneasy he feels. Eventually, the empty bus arrives in Morno, a tiny village tucked between mountains and cut off from the rest of the world. Years ago, the town thrived off mining, but now the place feels lifeless. Freddie steps off the bus, expecting to feel different, but nothing has changed. The town looks the same as when he left. He checks into the barren lodging house. The owner next door hands him the key, and Freddie collapses onto the bed, exhausted. But underneath the exhaustion is dread, because deep down, he knows he should have never come back to Morno. Episode 2. Freddie decides visiting his parents first would be the hardest part to get over with. Since he can't remember why he left home in the first place, he feels nervous the entire walk there. When he knocks on the door, his mother opens it and immediately bursts into tears seeing him again. The reunion is emotional at first, but the mood changes when she quietly tells him his father isn't well anymore. His behavior has become increasingly strange, and they think he may have dementia. Freddie walks into the living room to greet him, but his father barely reacts to his presence. Instead, he just stares off blankly and mutters, "There is a mousetrap in the house," over and over again. Then he suddenly says, but Freddie doesn't care because Freddie is not a mouse. The TV nearby flashes an image of a snake trapped in a mousetrap, and the whole scene feels cursed. Trying to shake the feeling off, Freddie heads into his old bedroom. It's like walking back into another version of himself. Old photos and memories frozen in time. He notices a Polaroid of himself with his childhood friend Matt during a birthday party and stares at it for a second. Then his mother walks in. She apologizes for his father's behavior and says he doesn't know what he's saying anymore, but the guilt in her voice makes it feel deeper than that. She admits she wishes she had been a better mother, that she should have listened to him back then. Then she changes the subject. The whole conversation feels forced, like both of them are avoiding something, until dinner. Freddie finally asks the question that's been haunting him since he got there. Why did I leave home? His mother freezes, completely stunned that he even asked. And then suddenly, his father slams his fist against the table. He points at Freddie and starts yelling, "It trusted you. It thought you were its parent. You were the only one who could have stopped it." His mother starts crying while Freddie just sits there confused out of his mind. Then his father stares directly at him and says, "You want to know why you left? Because you're a coward." Episode 3. The surreal behavior from his parents and the complete failure of that dinner conversation sends Freddie spiraling. Whatever is happening in this town clearly goes deeper than dementia. At this point, he's also starting to panic, wondering if the missing memories and nightmares aren't trauma at all. Whatever the case is, Freddie decides he's not staying another second in this town. As he crosses the street, a barking dog suddenly startles him, causing a bicyclist to slam on the brakes and wipe out hard onto the pavement. Freddie rushes over, asking if he's okay, but the guy apologizes, saying it was his own fault because nobody's usually out this late. Then mid-sentence, he looks up, and both of them freeze. The man instantly recognizes Freddie. It's Matt. We see the same Polaroid from Freddie's room earlier, except now it's stained with blood. Freddie originally planned on leaving the next morning, but running into Matt changes everything. Seeing Matt again is the first comforting thing Freddie's felt since arriving, so they decide to meet up the next day before Freddie catches the afternoon bus home. The next morning is gloomy as hell, but Freddie still decides to go. As they walk through the town catching up, Freddie admits something has been bothering him. He tells Matt his parents are acting completely wrong, and whatever is happening to them genuinely scared him. Matt quietly says something similar happened before. Then he points toward an old church nearby and asks Freddie if he remembers the snake they found there as kids. They walk around back into the cemetery and stop near a grave. Matt reminds him that when they found the snake, it got scared, but instead of running away, it started eating itself. It swallowed its own body until eventually it disappeared completely. Then Matt looks at Freddie and says that's what he did too. When he got scared, he ran. Matt gently grabs Freddie's finger and says he misses him. And then, let's just say the snake ain't the only thing getting ate up between these headstones. Right as things are getting real friendly, Freddie's phone starts ringing. It's his mother. The signal keeps breaking up while she desperately begs him to come home because his father is about to, and then the call cuts off. Episode 4. Freddie immediately tries calling back, but his mother won't answer. Concerned, the two rush back to Freddie's house. Inside, his mother's collapsed on the floor, struggling to stand. Freddie runs over to help while she tries to explain what happened through the pain. She says his father started shaving about an hour ago. Because of his condition, she constantly supervises him so he doesn't hurt himself. But this time, something felt wrong. He kept dragging the razor over the exact same spot on his neck over and over again. She tried talking to him, nothing. Tried physically stopping him, but she ended up falling onto the floor. Freddie rushes into the bathroom and realizes something is horribly wrong. His father's movements are stiff, mechanical. Freddie tries grabbing the razor away, but his father's arm doesn't budge at all. It's like trying to stop a machine mid-function. The cut on his neck is already deep, and Freddie realizes if he keeps going, he's gonna kill himself. Desperate, Freddie throws a towel over his father's neck to block the blade from making contact anymore. Then he tries calling an ambulance. Still, no signal. So Freddie runs outside for help. He spots a woman nearby with her dog and rushes toward her, yelling that it's an emergency. But the woman completely ignores him. She just keeps talking to the dog, asking if it wants to go home, except the dog is dead, lying motionless on the ground, and she keeps talking to it like nothing is wrong. Freddie backs away disturbed and notices a young girl walking nearby. He runs after her asking for help, but when he catches up, she's walking directly into a wall, over and over, like an NPC glitching into the environment. Episode 5. Morno was usually the kind of town where nothing ever happened. People followed the same routines every day without incident, but this day was different. It started when one person began repeating a simple action over and over again. Even when it started hurting them, they couldn't stop. Little by little, the behavior began spreading across town like some kind of infection. We see another case where a mother is driving with her daughter in the car. The daughter asks if she remembered to pack her umbrella. The mother says yes, then repeats it again and again, still driving until the car goes straight off a cliff. Within hours, the number of incidents exploded. People flooded the hospital looking for help for relatives and friends who suddenly couldn't stop repeating actions. Even if the action itself doesn't kill them, eventually they die. They can't stop long enough to eat or sleep or even use the bathroom. And that's what makes this disease so terrifying. One of the nurses, Erin, starts getting increasingly worried because her brother Matt still hasn't answered the phone. She keeps trying to contact him, but the signal across town is completely dead. Then the worst case scenario so far arrives at the hospital. A firefighter rushes in a young girl who has been trapped in a burning house. Apparently, she started repeating her actions while cooking and couldn't stop herself as the fire spread around her. The girl is horrifically burned, and the doctors genuinely can't understand how she's even alive. Erin checks her pulse again and realizes something horrifying. The girl isn't alive anymore. She died already, but even in death, she's still screaming, still repeating the same cry she made while burning alive in the fire. That's horrifying. Right then, Erin spots Matt and Freddie in the hallway and immediately rushes over to them in panic, checking her brother frantically to make sure he's okay. Matt tells her he's fine, and the phone stopped working, so he came to see her in person because he was worried. Freddie asks her what's happening to the town, and without hesitation, she tells them they need to leave Morno immediately. Episode 6. They don't waste any time. Erin, Matt, and Freddie quickly pile into her car and head toward the road out of town. But the deeper they drive, the worse everything feels. The phone lines are dead, no radio signal, no contact with the outside world. Matt asks his sister what's actually happening, and she admits it's far worse than they originally thought. People aren't just dying from the disease. Even after death, they continue repeating the same actions. Matt tells her Freddie's father is infected too and asks if there's anything the hospital can do. Erin says honestly, no. The hospital is overwhelmed already, and some of the staff left town earlier to deal with emergencies outside of Morno. At this point, the only thing they can do is escape before they get infected too. Suddenly, Erin slams on the brakes, hard. The road ahead is completely blocked. Massive trees have grown across the exit so densely, it's impossible to drive through. Freddie steps out of the car, trying to process what he's seeing, but then he notices something even stranger. The population number on the town sign is repeating itself, written twice. And when he looks closer at the tangled branches overhead, he realizes something. Fractals are repeating patterns created when a process endlessly repeats itself. You can see them all throughout nature, especially in tree branches. And that's when Freddie realizes the true horror of what's happening. The disease isn't only affecting people anymore. It's spreading into physical reality itself. Episode 7. The wall of branches is so thick and tangled, there's no possible way through it. So the group heads back to Matt and Erin's house to wait until morning. At least, that was the plan. Erin says if they're gonna try escaping through the forest tomorrow, they should stop by the hospital first and grab gloves and masks in case the disease is airborne. At this point, they've all been exposed way too long to take chances. As an extra precaution, they start washing their hands every few hours with antimicrobial soap and keep all the windows shut tight. That night, Freddie and Matt lie awake together while Matt reassures him everything will be okay once they leave in the morning. But Freddie can't shake the feeling that somehow this is all his fault. Matt tells him not to be ridiculous. Then Freddie quietly asks him something. He asks if he remembers why he left Morno in the first place, and Matt hesitates, says he honestly doesn't remember, but it doesn't matter because he's here with him now. Eventually, Freddie falls asleep, and we enter into another dream sequence. We see 3 people playing rock, paper, scissors. Then suddenly, the mime flashes into view. There's an image of an egg resting inside of a nest, and Freddie jolts awake gasping. Immediately, he notices Matt is gone. The room is pitch black. He tries turning on the light, but the electricity isn't working anymore. Then he hears voices downstairs. Freddie slowly follows the sound and finds Matt and Aaron outside with flashlights, wandering around in front of the house. Freddie asks them why they're outside so late, and Matt looks confused. So late? Aaron turns to him and says, "It's 8 in the morning." Episode 8. Morno is now trapped in complete darkness. Despite everything happening, Freddie still refuses to leave without checking on his mother. So to save time, they split up. Aaron heads to the hospital to grab protective equipment, while Matt and Freddie go back to Freddie's house. As they walk, Matt admits Aaron is way more terrified than she lets on. Then he tells Freddie a story from when they were kids. One day, they found a duck egg, and after hatching the duckling, it imprinted on them. It followed them everywhere because it trusted them completely. But one day while they were playing, they accidentally stepped on it. The whole thing traumatized Erin so badly, she locked herself in her room for days. Then only after a few weeks later, their parents died in a car crash. And ever since then, Erin has lived in constant fear of losing the people she loves. And now, she's terrified she's about to lose Matt too. As they continue walking through town, we see more evidence of the disease spreading. The wrecked car from earlier is still there. The mother's corpse remains slumped inside while she endlessly repeats, "I packed the umbrella." At this point, Freddie starts spiraling. He says he can't take this anymore. This town is horrible and coming back here was a mistake. Matt gets offended immediately. He tells Freddie people here loved him, cared about him. How could he say something like that? Freddie snaps back asking if Matt is seriously trying to guilt trip him right now. Matt tells him to stop acting childish, and Freddie storms off alone towards his house. When he arrives, the entire place is dark and silent. He slowly walks upstairs and passes by the bathroom, then freezes. His father is still standing there, shaving. The wound in his neck is now horrifyingly deep, but he just keeps dragging the razor across the same spot. Freddie screams for him to stop, then collapses against the wall sobbing. How could this happen? Where is his mother? Why did she leave him alone like this? Then suddenly, he hears a voice coming from the bedroom. His mother. Freddie rushes towards the room and opens the door. She's sitting on the edge of the bed, facing the balcony. And at first, everything seems normal until he gets closer. Her hand has duplicated onto itself, fingers branching unnaturally. She quietly says she doesn't understand what's wrong with her hand, and then she turns toward him, and Freddie sees her face. Parts of it have begun multiplying too. Another malformed version of her face, growing out from the side like some horrific twin. Episode 9. Freddie's mother slowly stands up, saying she doesn't feel well, and asking him to help her. But seeing what the disease has done, it completely breaks him. The possibility of getting affected sends Freddie sprinting out of the house at full speed. Fear got this man moving like an Olympic athlete because he is gone. He runs blindly through the darkness without direction. But even while running, guilt keeps eating at him because deep down he knows he just abandoned his mother. Eventually, Freddie slows down, completely exhausted, and finally realizes how cold the town has gotten. The darkness around Morno feels unnatural now, heavy, suffocating, like the night itself is swallowing everything whole. He keeps walking, hoping he'll somehow find his way back, but the more he walks, the more lost he feels. Then he hears music, a strange melody drifting through the darkness. It sounds almost like a music box, except distorted, like it's playing through a broken radio. Freddie notices a woman standing motionless in the middle of the road, and somehow the sound seems to be coming from her. After a few seconds, she starts speaking, and when Freddie looks closer, he realizes the woman's body has begun multiplying onto itself too. 3 copies of her head and shoulders are laid grotesquely together. Then suddenly, someone grabs his hand. He spins around, ready to lose his mind, but it's Matt. Matt says he's been searching everywhere for him and asks where his mother is. Freddie can't answer. He just drops the flashlight and breaks down crying into Matt's arms. Eventually, the two make it back to the meeting point where Erin has been waiting for them, but something about her feels off. She sits there quietly, staring into nothing. Episode 10. Without wasting any more time, the three put on gloves and masks before heading into the forest, hoping they can escape Morno on foot. The deeper they walk, the colder everything gets, and Freddie starts noticing Erin acting strangely. He asks if she's okay. She says she's just tired. After walking for a while, they finally ran into the barrier. The forest is just as dense as it was on the road. They begin walking alongside the barrier, searching desperately for some kind of opening. Then they spot an older man examining the branches. At first, Freddie thinks maybe they finally found help, but when they approach him, they realize the man is repeating the same sentence, repeating how it would take a week to cut through all the wood. So they quickly back away before getting too close. At this point, they've been wandering the forest for hours with absolutely no way out. Then Matt suddenly remembers something: the mines. Freddie asks what mines, and Matt explains that the old abandoned mine tunnels connect all the way to the outskirts of the town. If they can make it through there, they might actually escape Morno. They turn to ask Erin what she thinks, but she's gone, completely vanished. The only thing left behind is her lantern lying on the ground. Episode 11. Matt and Freddie immediately start searching for Erin through the forest. Then Matt suddenly stops. He hears something, a familiar melody drifting through the trees. He tells Freddie to come look, and as they move closer, the music gets louder. Then they see her. Erin is standing motionless in the middle of the forest. Matt rushes towards her, asking what she's doing and why she took her mask off, but Erin doesn't respond. She just stands there blankly. Then Freddie notices something horrifying. The music is coming from within her. The small locket containing the picture of Matt and the baby duck has swung open, and the distorted melody is playing from inside of her. Erin screams. Matt yells her name as she slowly lifts her head. Her eyes go bloodshot, and then her head splits open. Matt watches in complete horror as additional heads begin sprouting upward. Freddie immediately tells Matt they need to run, but Matt can't move. He just keeps staring at his sister. Then quietly he says, "She needs me." Freddie snaps back, telling him that's not his sister anymore. We hear the strange German words again, echoing through the forest, while Matt starts remembering everything. The duckling. His sister cried after they accidentally killed it. The day they stood together at their parents' funeral grave, promising they'd never abandon each other. Then Matt looks over at Freddie, sitting exhausted against a tree, and finally something in him snaps back into place. He reaches his hand out toward Freddie and says, "Let's get the fuck out of this town." Episode 12. Freddie and Matt make their way out the forest, only to stumble across something even worse. Entire clusters of houses have begun replicating onto themselves. The buildings are stacked upward endlessly in the darkness, like corrupted copies layered one over the other, and the only way to reach the mines is through the houses. As they move between the twisted structures, Freddie suddenly hears a strange noise behind them. When he turns around, his stomach drops. The repeated houses have suddenly sealed off the path behind them. There's no going back now, only forward. The deeper they push through the maze of homes, the more disturbing everything becomes. At one point, they pass the corpse of a man lying motionless, while duplicated arms branch outward from both sides of his body. They have to enter the houses themselves. And honestly, even with reality collapsing around them, breaking into somebody's house still feels wrong. Inside one of the homes, they pass a fireplace where an old man is standing silently. Then he turns around, and his entire face is covered in replicated eyes. Eyes layered over eyes. The man suddenly screams, "Get out of my house!" Freddie and Matt panic and bolt past him, racing upstairs nearby. But the stairs are never ending. No matter how far they run upward, the staircase just keeps going. Then Matt looks behind them, and the old man is still there, still climbing and screaming at them to get out of his house. Episode 13. The man with the replicated eyes suddenly lunges forward and grabs Matt, shoving him violently onto the stairs. Matt fights him off and kicks him backward down the staircase before Freddie rushes over, helping him back up. The two continue climbing until they finally reach the top of the replicated houses. And from that height, they can finally see what has happened to Morno. The entire town is infected. In the distance, they spot a house burning. Then Freddie notices something thin stretching high into the sky. At first, it looks like a beam, but when he squints closer, he realizes it's a column of replicated human heads, endlessly duplicating upward into the darkness. Then we see the woman from the street again, her multiplied heads stretched upward. Then Erin in the forest. Her duplicated faces rose towards the sky. Suddenly, beams of light shoot through all three columns at once. The lights connect, forming massive glowing patterns overhead. Then the pattern spreads further across the sky, towards other human columns throughout the town. And all at once, a massive reverberating sound echoes through every single one of them in unison. The sky itself begins forming giant triangular patterns, repeating endlessly inside one of another. Triangles within triangles within triangles. Freddy tells Matt they need to move. They need to get to the mine now, but Matt just stands there, frozen, staring upward at the sky. Matt doesn't respond. He's completely frozen in place, staring upward as the repetition slowly begins taking a hold of him too. Freddy breaks down crying and hugs him one last time while we hear the sound of rock, paper, scissors echoing in the background. Freddy, Matt, and Aaron are children again, playing hide and seek. Freddy is the seeker, counts to 20 before running off to search for them. Then he hears movement nearby, a rustling sound coming from the mine. Thinking his friends are hiding inside, Freddy enters, calling out to them, saying they can't hide forever. But as he walks deeper inside the mine, he suddenly stops. Hanging in the darkness is a woman's outfit, and strangely enough, it looks almost identical to Melvina's clothes. Freddy calls out for Matt and Aaron again while cautiously approaching it. When he touches the clothing, it falls, and resting beneath it is an egg. The egg suddenly begins cracking open. At the same time, we hear Freddy's younger voice desperately begging his mother, "Please, you have to believe me." But she dismisses him immediately, telling him nobody is in danger, and there's no monster in the mine. Then we cut back to the present. Freddy stands before the mine entrance once again, and finally walks inside alone. Freddy slowly enters the mine by himself. Every sound inside the tunnel repeats endlessly. Even his own footsteps start making him anxious. He continues deeper into the tunnels until eventually reaching an intersection. One path is locked shut, the other remains open. Freddy chooses the open tunnel and keeps moving. Massive stalactites stretch downward from the ceiling so aggressively that they completely block the path ahead. At first, Freddy thinks he's trapped. Then suddenly, he notices lights shining through the other side. An exit. Hope flashes across his face. He remembers spotting a pickaxe near the intersection earlier, so he rushes back, grabs it, and starts smashing through the rock formations. Eventually, he breaks through, blinded by light. Then Freddy sees it, a massive primordial entity hidden within the depths of the mine. Surrounding it are human figures, endlessly carrying giant boulders in circles around the creature, like they're trapped in some eternal punishment. While Freddy stares in horror, we hear his mother's voice apologizing again, saying she wishes she had listened to him when he first told her. Then another memory overlaps. When we broke the shell, it imprinted on us. It trusted us. Suddenly, his father's voice echoes again. "Freddy, it trusted you. You were the only one who could stop it, but you didn't. You left because you were a coward." Freddy stares at the creature while visions of his parents, Matt, Aaron, and the entire town flash through his mind. And instead of facing the monster, Freddy runs. Again. Episode 16. The story reveals that Freddy is trapped inside a repeating paradox. He originally fled Morno because of the monster in the mine, but every time he escapes, instead of confronting it, the creature resets the loop and calls him back again. That's why Freddy's memories feel fragmented. Deep down, some part of him remembers previous loops, even if he consciously can't access them. The citizens of Morno are trapped in the same cycle too. Their subconscious minds hold on to fragments of previous iterations, which explains their strange behavior and repeated phrases. Freddy's father remembers more than most, which is why the repetition affects him first. And the monster itself, it imprinted onto Freddy when it hatched from the egg. It sees him as his parent, meaning Freddy is the only person capable of stopping it permanently. But every single time he reaches that moment, fear wins, and he abandons everyone to save himself, again and again and again. Finally, we learn the truth about Melvina. The samples labeled Morno, the syringes, the repeated duck drawings. Melvina isn't helping Freddy. She's using him. Just like the creature in the mine feeds off repetition in endless loops, Melvina feeds off human suffering too. Which means Freddy never walked back into Morno by coincidence. He was led there by Melvina. And honestly, that might be the scariest part. Alright, y'all, that's gonna be it for this session of Melvina's Therapy. I wanna thank you guys so much for the incredible surge of subs, comments, and support. It really means a lot, and thank you for rocking with my little cozy horror corner in the internet. Also, between Melvina arcs, I think I'm gonna start sprinkling in some other horror stories too, because there's way too much weird stuff out there to not talk about. As always, stay safe out there, because apparently therapists and small towns cannot be trusted. I'll see y'all in the next session. Bye!